As a web developer, you'll have opportunities to work with clients in your industry and in your field and be able to demonstrate to them how you work and how to present samples of your work so that they can understand your workflow and your process. Hi, my name is Matt, and in this screencast I'm going to show you some quick tips on how to use Photoshop to demonstrate to your clients how you carry out with your work. This is a little different than just graphics design and web design. When you look at web designs and graphics, it's an instant gratification thing. You don't really have to do a lot to convey what it is you're trying to convey. That is, you have a simple layout, let's say something like this, and it is what it is. I mean, you see it, you either like it or you don't. Well, in web development, it's a little bit different. Okay, more than likely you'll have some features and some things that the client wants laid out. And so, for example, I'm just going to take my blog, and let's say that you're an HTML CSS designer, and that you also tie in your stuff with PHP and MySQL. Well, it's a little bit hard to demonstrate that to them, and so what I'm going to do is just show you real quick what we can do about proving to your clients, basically, or demonstrating to your clients your level of and your skill of knowledge by taking some source code and a screenshot and then highlighting certain areas and showing it to them in a way that will help them to better understand what you do. And so let's take, for example, this Hello World title. I'm just going to search for this. Okay. And so we see this is an H1 or heading 1. Now the source code in a WordPress site I'm not too impressed with. It's never usually organized very well because it's not a static site, so you don't get that. But I'm just going to show you real quick what it looks like. Let's say that I wanted to do a screenshot. So what I'm going to do on a Windows operating system, I'm going to hit Alt on my keyboard, press and hold Alt, and then hit print screen, and that will take a screenshot of just the active window. And then in Photoshop I'm going to create a new document and go ahead and paste that in there. Okay, and then what I might do is move this over to the side a little bit. Okay, and then from here I'm going to come back to the front end, and I'm going to do the same thing, Alt print screen, and copy this and paste it into here. So now I have the preview, and then I have the code that renders that preview. So from here what I can do is start cropping and making some edits. But again, this is just to demonstrate what you can do as a developer in demonstrating code to your clients and to people that you work with. Now this is okay because they can kind of see this Hello World in the HTML source, and they can see where it comes out on the web page when it is rendered by the browser. But what we might do to further enhance something like this is simply add maybe a little bit of a drop shadow and bring that drop shadow over this way, say 45 degrees, and then kind of increase that shadow a little bit. Another thing that I like to do is perhaps offset it a little bit, okay, depending on you know, how it's going to be viewed. And one more thing that we should do, I'm going to create a new layer here, and what I'll do for this layer is draw white rectangles around what I want, over what I want to highlight. So let's say I wanted to highlight this line right here, and I want to also highlight this right here to demonstrate that when executed or when rendered by the browser, this is what it'll look like on the page. And so here it created two shapes, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to merge those two together. Okay, so these are going to be called highlights, or let's just do let's say highlights. Now I'm going to come into the blending options, and then come over to stroke. Okay, and we can make this a red stroke, and then set the fill opacity to 0. Okay, and so now we kind of have that ability to outline those things that we want to draw attention to by the client. And then we can get a little more elaborate too, of course, if you want to blur out the background or what have you. It's pretty simple to do. Just take your layer that you want to blur out a little bit and control and click the thumbnail of the highlights layer, and then invert that selection, or take the inverse of that, and then you can blur, do a little bit of a Gaussian blur. Okay, let's say maybe 2 pixels, and we can do the same again for the other layer here. Have that layer selected, control click the highlights thumbnail layer thumbnail, and then inverse, because we want to take the inverse of that. Okay, and then we can repeat the Gaussian blur, and so now we kind of have this nice way of showing to our client, you know, hey, here's what it looks like. You know, there are a couple other things that you could do. You could add a little drop shadow, you know, so you can get to be elaborate with this, but the point is to show them your code and how it affects their site. And so this is good if you're working with a client that is a little more tech savvy, kind of knows a little more about what they want. For example, if you're writing a PHP library or software development kit, you can show them, for example, work that you do in your API. This is great for highlighting example usages. If you're relating this to other web developers, you can show them in the background here how it works, the render, the output, and in the code view you can show them the like a sample code snippet of how to use that, and specifying the parameters and then executing the call and showing what takes place in the background. So these are just some simple techniques that help you to demonstrate your code and get it out there a little bit more readable, a little bit more understandable. So hopefully that'll help you in your relationships with your clients. My name is Matt, and thanks for watching.